So we have understand the discussing the case study of Belgium and Sri Lanka, and we try to assimilate the idea that what is power sharing. So power sharing, as we have discussed, it is just a decentralization of power among the government and its various other organizations for the smooth administration as well as settlement of the people living in the country. No country called as a democratic if power remained concentrated in the hands of single. So further, let us try to understand more that why power sharing, why there should be a power sharing. Then it says that power sharing is very much essential or desirable in democracy. For what reason? It has a two wider reason. So one reason which says that why power sharing is necessary, it's called as what? The prudential reason. And another one is the moral reasons. Let us try to understand that what are these prudential reasons. See, prudential reasons of power sharing helps in reducing the conflict between social groups. It enhances the political stability and avoids majority dominance. So what exactly prudential reason of power sharing, why it is necessary? Now prudential reason means it gives power to every group equally living in the country or in any society. As we can understand from the case of Belgium, initially the power were not decentralized or some group of people living in the Belgium and their numbers were more in majority, they exercised or enjoyed maximum privileges. As a result, other people they feel rejected. If you take the another example from Sri Lanka, the Sinhalas who were in majority, they exercise much more right, they got more privileges, and ultimately other group of people they feel alienated or rejected. And ultimately what happened? That lead to conflict, which is not healthy. And the conflicts are based on various communal factors, social factors, political factors, economical factors. So ultimately to reduce this kind of conflict, it says that power must be shared among the different social groups. Why? To avoid all those conflict. You have seen that there was a less chances of getting support from the people side to the government if somebody feel like rejected or alienated. Let me take the example of Sri Lanka. When 1956 the government passed an act which has declared Sinhala as a official language, Buddhist as a official religion, and it also given maximum privileges in the case of government jobs and getting admissions in the various universities and the schools to the Sinhalas. Ultimately what happened? The people who are not belong to that community, they started to reject, they started to oppose the government these decisions. In such case, it is very difficult for any democratic country if they are not supported by the people. As a result, to have a political stability, it is very much important that no people should feel alienated, no people should feel rejected, and ultimately that form of government will establish when majority dominate the minority. In the case of both Belgium and Sri Lanka, what we have seen, those group of people who were in majority, they were just dominating the minority. The minorities' interests were not taken care to by the government of both these countries, and that lead to various kind of conflict. instability. So why power sharing is necessary? Power sharing is necessary so that all that conflict based on religion, based on language, based on the majority of the people should be avoided, should be not exist in the society. For that only power need to be shared, and such reasons of power sharing is called as what? The prudential reason. Clear? So this is the prudential reason. That's why it says that it helps in reducing the conflict between social groups, enhances the political stability, avoids majority dominance. Now let us try to understand the moral reason. Correct? It says that it helps in deepening the meaning of democracy. It helps to keep the democratic spirit alive. It expresses the needs of power sharing. These are a moral reason. Now let us see. It is depending the meaning of democracy. What does it mean and why it is called moral reason? One, whether people or the government, right? Whether it is a people or government, people or the government living in any country, right? Or administrating in any administrating in any country, they must exactly understand what is democracy and what sorts of governance should be ensured or should be executed in democracy. When people will understand exact the concept of democracy, when the government will understand exact concept of democracy working in any country, then ultimately what happened? They started to take care the interest, the values and the needs and other necessities of its people living in the country as well as the nation as a whole. So for this reason, it is very important to depend, to know exactly what is democracy. It is very important to know. And that's why let everybody should know. For such reasons, power is decentralized. So those group of people who are not in power, once they come, they also will learn to know that how democracy works, what are the functions it carries out, and it will give a wider scope of acceptance among the people to this form of government. Let us take the another. It says that very spirit of democracy kept alive. If power do not decentralized, then what happened? Chances are there the government may become despotic or it may become tyrannical. The tyrannical means which follows the opposite ideas of the democracy. So if any country, if democracy is existing, it means that country has well decentralizes its power. So one of the most important reasons why power need to be shared is what? The decentralization of power. The decentralization of power only keep the spirit of democracy alive. Otherwise, it will make the government despotic. They will not exercise the power as per the democratic values. It expresses the need of power sharing. Why power sharing is necessary? These moral reasons, morality. Somewhere, if some people feel rejected, as in the case of Belgium, as in the case of Sri Lanka, we have seen some group of people, they feel eliminated, means rejected from the government affairs. All the decisions making of the government. Why? Because they have not found anything good for them, and they form various political associations or other association. Let us take the example of Sri Lanka, the formation of the LTTE. If power could have been shared in a better way, then ultimately such organization which become threat to later part of the period in the Sri Lanka and entered world, and it was their terror was continued till the death of Prabhakaran. It could not have been happened. That's why it expresses the need of power sharing. If power is not shared, ultimately it may cause for the threat for any nation. So now see, these all reasons are called moral reasons of power sharing. So what is the need of power sharing? The need of power sharing is for two reasons. One is called prudential, another is called moral. In prudential reason, if you see, it helps in reducing the conflict between social groups, it enhances political stability, avoids majority dominance. So what we come to know here, it means it check all the external acts of human behavior through political rights. And if you come here in the moral reasons, it talks about what helps in defining. Defining means understanding exactly the meaning of democracy. Keep the democratic spirit alive. What is democracy and how it should be administered and what are the things should be kept in the democracy. That is, and finally expresses the need of power sharing. Why power need to be shared? Okay, such factors helped to regulate the thought process or morality or values. So these reasons of power sharing are called what? These reasons of power sharing are called moral reason, and especially it deals with one's thought process. Okay, thought processes, and here it deals with what? One's external actions. You can say it's as a dealing with all the external actions, right? So this is why power sharing and the important reasons. Further we will continue the forms of power sharing. So let us continue with the another topic of the chapter, that is forms of power sharing. We have come to know that what is power sharing, why power sharing is desirable, and we try to understand it taking the best example from Belgium and the Sri Lanka. So in this particular topic we will try to understand that what are the different forms of power sharing. So let us see first. This says that the power is shared among the organ of the government. Let us see which are these government. We know that the government has three organs. That is legislature, right? What is this? Legislature, executive, and judiciary. Now, all these different organs of the government, they have their own role to play, or they are responsible in their own field to carry out the different work and responsibilities handed over to them. If you see, among these three organs of the government, first is legislature. Legislature is responsible for making all the laws for the nation. Executive is responsible for executing all those laws which is made by legislature. And the judiciaries or judiciary, it play an important role to protect the law made by legislature implement by executive. So if you see, since from the making of the law to executing or implementing and protecting means since from making of the law to implementing and to protecting, the different organ of the government, they are entrusted with certain responsibilities, and one is not allowed to interfere in the matters of other. So this is one way how the power is shared. Do you know this kind of power sharing in the political science is also called as what? Horizontal way of power sharing. What is it? The horizontal way of power sharing means power is equally shared. Another is power shared among the different level of the government. Now, India is a federal state, right? With the center and its states, right? With the center and states. And if you see, the center and the state, they were entrusted their own powers to perform their various work or to render their service or responsibilities towards the people and its citizens. You know, center has given 97 subjects in which center make a laws for entire nation, correct? And each state in India, they were given 66 subjects. Now, subjects or items are those judicial privileges or preference given to any of the government in which they make laws. So, India has all the states in India, they have 66 subjects in which they make laws. Beside that, often we can see there are certain territories like union territories, okay, which do not come under the control of none of the central or state government. So who will make laws? There also the power is shown nicely and in so legitimate way it was shared. In such case, both the center and the state, they make laws jointly. But one remarkable or notable thing is what here? In case of any kind of conflict while making laws between center and the state, center is always overpowered. The reason? These union territories are mostly funded and their all the welfare actions or initiatives are taken by the central government. This is the reason. But see, here also we can see what a beautiful way of power sharing. What we can say the perfect or legitimate way of power sharing. So this is another way how power is shared. So these are the different. So let us take the another form of power sharing, that is among the various social groups. Power is shared among the various social groups. No matter they are coming from which ethnic background, okay, ethnic background, with the word linguistic background, or any others. So one of the most important factor or one of the most important asset that democracy talks about, the decentralization of power, and that power is decentralized not among the organ of the government or different level of the government, but certain powers are given to the various social groups. And these social groups may be coming from any ethnic background or any linguistic ideas or from any communities. So this is how another way of sharing the power. Now finally the fourth one, the power is shared among the political groups, pressure groups, interest groups, and there are so many other NGOs to whom certain powers are given. Now let us try to understand, this is one of the most important content, that is political groups or political parties. What are political parties? If we try to understand in a very simple manner what are political parties, then a group of people who come together, contest elections and form a government, that is what the political parties. About the political parties you are going to study in your later chapter also. So these political parties, they contest election and form government. Then what about those political parties who did not won the election, who did not able to gain the majority, and they were not able to form the government? Do these political parties also exercise the same kind of powers? Then yes. If you see, our country has the political parties, and these political parties are either nationalized political parties or regional political parties, right? Regional political parties. Now both these regional political parties and nationalized political parties, they are equally powerful. Let us see how they are. Let us discuss the nationalized political parties first. So those political parties who won the election, they form a government. Okay, they form a government. And those who lost the election, they play the role of opposition. Right? It means any political party who failed to win election and form the government, they are too not ignored in the democratic country like ours, where there is a power decentralized. These political parties, they ask several questions to the ruling government in the parliament and make or keep this government in check and balance, and in that way the government is not able to misuse their power. Let us take the another regional political parties. Though these regional political parties, there are near about 1400 plus regional political parties. Do you know these regional political parties, though they contest election at the regional level or at the state level, but they are equally given importance, or they are equally powerful in the forming of the government at the national level. Let me quote you. Do you know something about the coalition government? When any nationalized political party failed to gain a majority to form a government at the national level, then what happened? These nationalized political parties are supported by regional political parties. Giving support to the nationalized political parties, they form an alliance, and this alliance forming is done to give a government to the government, and such government is called as what? Coalition government. So you see, in that sense we can say that though regional political parties, they contest election at the state level, but they are not neglected, they are equally powerful. So this is how the power is shared among the political groups. Let us see the pressure groups. Do you know these pressure groups? They are of association. They are of association. It might be of any kind of association. You may be knowing about the student association, one of the best example of pressure group. Trade union association, no? So like that, uncountable associations are actively working in our country. These associations or these associations are called pressure group, and this pressure group also enjoyed a similar power. How? In any case of decision making, if government takes such a decision which is not healthy for the nation and for the upliftment of any of the people belong to this association, they come for the protest. They come for the protest in the democratic form, like organizing rallies, hartal, protest. No, so many different kind of agitation you might have seen in the news. Do you know why they are called as a pressure group? In any kind of decision making which is not healthy, in such case this pressure group pressurize the government to change their decision, or to take such a decision which is healthy and wise, not only for the people but for the nation as a whole. And there are so many other NGOs, like you might have heard about the Human Rights Commission, Child Welfare Association, like that. So many other NGOs are there who are equally given powers. What is the role of media in our country? If somewhere government try to become despotic, if somewhere government is not able to take adequate decisions which is helping the people to grow in that particular conditions, media too play very important role. This is how the power is shared. So in this last segment of the chapter, we have discussed the forms of power sharing. Do you know it is called a among the organ of the government the power is shared, that is called legislature, executive and judiciary. And this nature of power sharing is called horizontal nature of power sharing, as we have already discussed. Another is among the different level of the government. Do you know this is also called as what? Vertical form of power sharing. Vertical form of power sharing we have already discussed. Why? Because power goes like that, here power goes like this. No, central government exercising more subject and state government less. This is what. Another is what? Power is shared among the various social groups. They are coming from different linguistic background or ethnic background, like. And finally among the political groups, pressure groups and various other NGOs and media houses. So this is how, my dear student, I just try to make you explain about the importance of power sharing in the democracy. And I do feel that after watching these slides and listening the chapter the way I have explained, if you just read the chapter, it will give you more idea. Keep on learning, stay safe. Thank you very much.